I was raised in California, so I really consider myself a West Coast person. But I was born in North Carolina, and I've always had a deep affinity for North Carolina. In the time that I would come here, I learned more and more about the people, and Good Shepherd was a big part of that world. My aunt lived on the property here from the 40s all the way until the 90s. And when I would come, church was always a big part of the visit. Started on Saturdays. Got to get your outfit together, get ready, take your bath. And I'd arrive and Reverend Bonneker would be there and the church would be packed. 40 people, 30 people, 35 people. It was a big gathering. And we didn't have an elaborate service. It was a very simple, very modest church. But in some ways it was much more meaningful. The church was really established by a donor and a supporter of the black community. Her name was Mrs. Plaisted, and she came down from Maine. She thought there needed to be an effort to educate the black community. So she started a school, and then Edmund Embury also came down from the northern state, and he donated the land to build the school, a new school. And those things grew. And eventually a person by the name of Scotland Harris came down to Tryon. He was recruited from Halifax. And he was a gifted educator, and so was his wife. And for 10 years they ran the colored industrial school. But he spoke too freely, lived too free of a life in Tryon. One of the things that he did was attend church at Holy Cross. Well, the bishop fired him, and that was a big event, and it sent ripples not only through Tryon and Polk County, but Rutherford and everywhere else. People depended on this school. It was a 2-story boarding house school and taught a lot of the kids in the area the trades, and suddenly he was gone. And if you talk to people, they would say, it's sad that he's gone, but he should have known better. Right? Don't talk too freely. And that I see in my dad, that I see in my aunt, that I see in other people. It was knowing where the boundaries are. And we just don't go there. I read many books about black churches in the woods. These are early churches. And that's almost what they had. There was a red oak tree. If you've ever seen a red oak tree, they're large trees. But this one was described as an extremely large tree. And that's where the enslaved people would go to worship. And it just became a sacred place for them. And that's where the cemetery was. So many years later, long after the Civil War, people were no longer enslaved, but they're still working there at the plantation. Maud Cox decided we're going to build a church, a place of worship for him. So she built St. Andrew's Chapel. It fell into disrepair after a number of years, and by 1955 there was a need for a church in Tryon, and that's when the bishop went to the plantation and negotiated the purchase of that church. And in that year, 1955, they broke it into 4 parts and moved it from Rutherford all the way to Markham Road. That was a huge moment for the black community because up until then, they were worshiping in the old Tryon Industrial Schools. The school still stood there, but it was falling apart, and they used one of the classrooms for their church. Now they had a proper church. So on the east side of the town is where there was commerce, and you would not always exchange money, but you'd exchange goods and services. So later the town said, okay, this economy is too strong, and this is all zoned residential, so you shouldn't be doing this. So they closed a lot of the stores on the east side. The shifting from having your own economy on your side of town, where you were free to build a sense of place and community, was torn apart. It was the first step, some would argue, in diluting the strength of the black community and causing for the dissipation of the black community. But church was packed. We want to continually expand and look for people of all types to join Good Shepherd. And, as the saying is, meet people where they are on their spiritual journey. Everyone is welcome, and continue to provide a warm welcome to everyone. Not target any one group, but try to just make their church available for people who are in need of a home.